speaking of writers for big studios, let's talk about James Gunn a little bit. James Gunn, back on the Twitter sphere, right? He's been gone for a little bit. He hasn't been chirping as much, right? Tweet about the DCU, but he's back. And he clarified that everything before his upcoming animated series, Creature Commandos, and his first live action movie set within the DCU, Superman Legacy, is non-canon, right? That means it is not a part of this overarching storytelling process of the DC universe. So the story of Blue Beetle is not a part of the DCU canon. What happened in The Flash or what's about to happen in Aquaman is not DCU canon. DCU does not officially start until Creature Commandos and then movie-wise with Superman Legacy, directed by James Gunn. James Gunn also said that some stories and plot points might be consistent, right, from dozens of past DC projects, right? That goes with the DCEU and even prior to, but that does not mean they're canon. Ricky Flex, do you find these comments confusing at all?
So I get it. I get what he's saying. But this is the problem with DC. It's still confusing. And all we ask for is clarity and consistency. And DC still doesn't have it. All right. So let's just break down what you said. All right. So non-canon, AKA not a part of the universe. Got it. All these movies, not a part of the universe, the new universe. Great. This has been done time and time again, every single comic book universe. Great. All right. Some actors are going to carry over, okay, within their role. All right. And there's going to be new plot points with them. Fantastic. I get that as well. I can handle that. I can handle the same actors. All right. I wish I'd rather not. But like the ones he listed, John Cena as Peacemaker or Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, like I'll take those people because they were great in those roles. So I'm fine with it. But carrying over plot points from non-canon projects is exactly the problem with DC. We need to get organized. We can't be saying, oh, some actors who are carrying over, some of the plot points might be from the other plot points. Like, what if just, let's say Superman here refers to Lex Luthor, that's fine, but then mentions like Batman versus Superman. Then, oh, Ben Affleck's Batman's here? Oh, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman's here? Like, I hate inconsistency. I really hope like it's just like, oh, he means like not plot points, but like more like saying, oh, Lex Luthor, yeah, I know him, and I don't know. I you know what I'm saying?
Yes, the phrasing sounds confusing, but I think it's actually pretty simple, and I think people are making this too hard on themselves. I think when he says like consistent plot points, it's like Batman, right? All the Batmans have the same consistent plot point where his parents were killed in an alley, where Martha has
so no origin stories.
So I don't think it's going to refer to like, oh, when Batman fought Superman and Lex Luthor was involved and Doomsday showed up. That's too specific. I think he's just saying it's consistent with the overall characters we've seen so far, because many that we saw in the DCEU have no other reference points in live action, right? So if you talked about not the Flash, but Blue Beetle, okay? Blue Beetle, everything that happened in Blue Beetle doesn't matter. The actor that plays Blue Beetle will be here, and they might reference something that is consistent with the overall like comic book origins, and that's like consistent with the Blue Beetle that we saw in the movie, but it doesn't matter, right? It's just consistent with the overall, like the origins of the character, the root of the character. I think that's what he's trying to say. Like Aquaman, they might reference, like if it's like a year 2 or 3 Aquaman that's coming in this universe, they're going to reference Black Manta, but it's not the Black Manta that you know from the DCEU. Okay. So overall, he's just making it sound way more complicated with the consistent plot points. And now where everyone thinks about the DCEU. So you're going to use like the storylines to DCEU? No, just like almost like the pillars, what make the characters who they are. I think that's all he's doing. Ricky Flex. That makes sense?
Now, only if you could be like his PR guy and basically say that. I think that's perfect. No origin stories. We've seen a bunch of them. We don't need to see Martha Wayne get her pearls snatched and shot again. Like,
right.
We all know the story. I think that's a great idea. Someone has to try it where there's just no origin stories. We all know the original comic book story. Let's just go right into it. I love it. But the phrasing in this. Yeah, like I think that's my problem with DC still with James Gunn is that we were like, oh, perfect. We got a guy that knows comic books and he's organized and ready to go. Fine. Yes, maybe from the story point of view, but from the communication to fans, it's been poor. It has been.
It's been a little inconsistent as well, where it's like, okay, people were very confused about the Blue Beetle character, first of all, with Cholo Maridueña. Initially, we thought this is nowhere near going to be part of the DCU. Then it's like, is this like the first DCU movie? No, we're just carrying over the character. It seems like James Gunn kept clarifying, but still could not send that direct message to the fans, like a transparent type of message. And that's the issue right now. And I think this helps, right, a little bit, like if we have people like us to explain it. But then you have people that are hanging by a thread, hoping to see these characters again, and like hearing this type of news, and they hear like, oh, we're keeping consistent plot points from previous DC movies. That's giving them hope when there is no hope. You know, I think that's really driving people insane.
Yeah, and the fact that James Gunn is so usually Twitter fingers ready. He's always tweeting usually. That doesn't help either because that means like you're not a great communicator. And that's what you got to be when you're ahead of a studio or ahead of a universe. So I don't like that.
This shows why people don't do that, right? Like
yes.
That's why they don't tweet all the time and give
Good
updates
point.
to fans. Like we want to hear from him, but this is like the downside of hearing from the creator of a universe so much. Plans change, directions change, visions change, and it can lead audience if that aren't staying like too up to date. They might think one thing, they miss an update, and then something else happens. They're like, oh wait, I thought like this was happening with Blue Beetle. I thought that was the first DCU movie. And it's like, no, you missed like 3 tweets ago from James Gunn. This is probably exactly why you don't have the heads of studio just telling everyone your step-by-step plan, right? I know, I get it. It's very organized, and he is probably very articulate with what he tweets and everything. But it's making fans uneasy at this point. People like us, I think, obviously with the way you just explained, like the WGA, like you're obviously like a highly intelligent person. But I think people that are just like blank mind thinking about like comic book movies, they're just like, I'm out. This is dumb.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Like you're trying to get people to go away from Marvel. There's Marvel fatigue right now. You can get them right now. You just show some excitement, but you got to show that you know what you're doing, right? I think it's just being like common sense. There's a lot of common sense that needs to be played here, and I think you nailed it. Like maybe just don't tweet as much. Yes, that sucks for us. Like maybe we don't see as
good for our
as much.
show.
Yeah, right. Like I'd rather us be right or not get our hopes up and then just be let down. Like think about it. We still don't know Flash situation, Ezra Miller. We still don't know Gal Gadot's situation. Henry Cavill, that was crazy. Remember that for a month? We thought he was coming back.
Probably Gal Gadot was saying like she is a part of the DCU because like she's just as confused as fans saying, oh, we're going to use plot points from like Wonder Woman from your movies. It's just not you playing Wonder Woman. It's just like we're going to include like Steve Trevor still exists, right? We're just going to carry over Steve Trevor. It's not going to be Chris Pine, but Steve Trevor still exists. So that's where it's like if you don't communicate that directly, not only to fans, but to actors, they come out and they say certain things that aren't accurate, you know?
Well, I'm happy that I have you here to explain it to me because I think I'm not the only one that's confused here. So thank you, Dr. O. This is why we do the checkup.
Let's get to some more juicy stuff he said, though, right? James Gunn said the following actors will return in the DCU, playing the roles from the DCEU. 1, John Cena as Peacemaker, returning for second season of Peacemaker, and who knows what else for James Gunn in his new universe. Along with that same corner of the universe of James Gunn and the Suicide Squad, Viola Davis returning as Amanda Waller. And we obviously knew that because there's going to have the Waller TV series on the way. I hope that they don't pick up straight from Peacemaker season 2, to be honest, because she's kind of like, she's in a world of hurt because her daughter just kind of ratted her out and she's going to jail. Maybe it could lead to an interesting storyline. Who knows? Cholo Maridueña, we know, is coming back as Blue Beetle. It's not necessarily going to be a sequel to the movie we just saw, right? But him playing that character will return. And then Freddie Stroma, thank God, is coming back as Vigilante, as seen in the first season of Peacemaker. James Gunn did not say this is the final list of all characters that are returning to the DCU. So he has also, once you say that, you get a lot of fans like saying, oh my God, there is hope, you know? But what do you think about this list, Ricky Flux? Are you shocked that James Gunn's bringing back his friends?
John Cena, Viola Davis, Cholo Maridueña. We all knew that. Freddie Stroma, best news I've heard this week. Awesome as Vigilante. Awesome. I love it, and I'm not surprised. I feel like everyone from Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, if they want to be in the DCU, they'll come in the DCU, right? They'll be a part of it, and James Gunn will invite them back. So I'm not surprised with any of those projects. I would just be more surprised if we get a Gal Gadot back or a Ezra Miller back. Those are the ones I don't want to see back. Unsuccessful or bad sour taste in your mouth storylines or
integral characters to the Justice League too.
Right, just let's start fresh.
100%.
Peacemaker, hey, he's a C-D list DC character. We can keep going with John Cena, and he's great at it. Amanda Waller, when you get Viola Davis, arguably the greatest working actor alive, like you gotta keep her. Stuff like that. We could, like Blue Beetle, C-list hero. Okay to keep Jolo, and he just had a movie that was pretty successful, I would say, based on the budget and what we were expecting. So all in all, like, these are fine. It's just when you get the integral Justice League characters like a Wonder Woman and the Flash, and you're going to carry over some polarizing figures, that's where I'm going to have some bigger gripes with.
So what I'm interested in after reading those names, like obviously lesser known, like from the Peacemaker season 1, right, except for Cholo Maridueña and the Suicide Squad universe here. I'm curious if the DCEU isn't canon, and the end of the first season of Peacemaker included like a bunch of heroes that we saw in the DCEU, like Jason Momoa. Was Gal Gadot there? Was Gal Gadot there?
Wait, what do you mean? Like
The end
where?
of Peacemaker season 1?
No, it was just the Flash and Aquaman.
Yeah, Ezra Miller was there, but then you had like, didn't you have like a blacked out face of Henry Cavill of like Superman? Wasn't he there? I don't think it was just 2. I'm pretty sure it was more than 2 people.
Yes, I think I think you're right. Or they referred to Wonder Woman, saying like we couldn't get her either or something.
Something like that. But there was at least like 3 or 4 people there at the end. So I'm wondering if any of those characters are going to return from Peacemaker season 1, or they're just like going to do a new season of Peacemaker and just reset all the characters. And that's where it gets interesting, because Jennifer Holland is James Gunn's wife, right? And she plays Hardcourt, who's also made appearances in numerous DC projects, including Black Adam. So if these events aren't canon, are they going to bring back the same characters and those events don't matter? That's where it's kind of interesting. Viola Davis, is that person still her daughter, right? And is she going to start in prison in the next season of Peacemaker, right? So it's like, that's where it gets a little tricky. That's where like it's hard to follow James Gunn's comments and see if he actually lives up to the idea that this isn't, everything that happened before isn't canon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not a true season 2 then.
Yes, I completely agree with what you're saying, but the only thing I would just rebut with is that I think everyone would be fine if they just carry over the same people with those type of roles,
Just
like
a brand new story.
Yeah, like they're not. This is gonna be bad. They're not important to the core of DC. Like they're not.
I agree, but I was just curious, like at how strict he's going to be, like regarding that. Is he gonna like look to, okay, let's build off season 1 and build off this story, or it's like let's just build off like the foundation of the character? Is there gonna be connections like from one season to the next, or it's like, okay, everyone's returning, but we're just gonna act like whatever happened in season 1 didn't happen? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that since we're even getting some carryover, he's not strict with it at all.
No. Yeah, we are. That's so true. Like he already has basically told us he's not strict with it.
Yeah.